A group of 4 lads used to meet every Saturday morning at first light and go to the village pub where they all live. Well, they all live kind of around this village pub, and they used to go every Saturday for a fishing trip because they were all fishermen, and they used to go to some of the lakes and even some of the canals, and sometimes even used to go to the sea and go fishing together. And it was their favourite time of day because they got a bit of time away from the wives and the children, and they could just have time together. So it was a great time. And after they'd finished their fishing trip, they all used to go back to the pub car park and go in the pub and have a few jars. It was a Saturday routine for these 4 lads, and they told me about it when they came to my bar, the pub on Soi Diamond. But they had something that they wanted to do. They wanted to go on holiday. Now, sometimes these 4 lads and their wives and family would go on holidays together, you know, the usual places, Benidorm, sometimes Greece. They went to Turkey once, and it was like, it was okay, but it was with the girls and it was with the kids. But what they really wanted was to go on a holiday just amongst themselves, a lad's sort of week away somewhere. And they had a think, what could they do to be able to convince their wives and families that they could go on a trip and everything would be fine. Just let us keep on with the bright lights. Give me a chance to make it right. One of the lads had got a friend at work who had been on a holiday to, guess where? Sleazy Pattaya. And he'd come back, and it was before mobile phones and the internet of sorts for everybody, and he got some Polaroid pictures, and he'd had to have them developed at a special place because the Polaroid pictures were a little bit racy, and they showed his mate, who was happily married of course, with a young lady on the bed, with 2 young ladies on a bed, with a young lady in a shower, that sort of thing. Yes, he'd been to Pattaya and took some snaps, and he'd showed them around the work canteen whilst nobody was looking. So the guys had a thought, if only we could go to this magical kingdom of Pattaya, we could have the holiday of a lifetime. But what are we going to tell the girls? And then they thought, well, hold on a minute, I've got a great idea. And in a week or 2 later, they were all packed at Heathrow Airport with their bags, checking into British Airways flight direct to Bangkok. You see, one of the photos that his mate had showed him in the works canteen wasn't of girls or anything else, but it was of a harbour here in Thailand where they were bringing fish into the harbour for sale, and it was probably somewhere around here. This is Bali High, and I do remember back in the 90s and in the early 2000s they did used to land fish here and bring and people used to come down, sometimes even some of the managers and the chefs at some of the top restaurants and hotels at the time here in Pattaya, and buy some fresh produce. Well, as fresh as that water gets, which ain't that fresh, by the way. So they had a great idea, and they were sitting on the plane, on the British Airways plane, flying towards Bangkok, having their free drinks, and they were all laughing at the great idea that they had. They soon landed at Don Muang Airport, and they took a taxi which took about 3 to 4 hours along the Sukhumvit Road through Chonburi and into the little seaside fishing village of Pattaya. Have I given the game away? The fishing village of Pattaya. I got freedom. The lads checked into their hotel, and I think it might have been on Soi 7 or Soi 8, because I remember them saying that when the taxi pulled into the Soi, there were girls that were screaming and they felt like pop stars because they were literally trying to open the doors and get them to wind down the windows of the taxi as it pulled in. Probably Soi 8, but it might have been Soi 7 or somewhere else. But those were the days back then. Anyway, they managed to go out for a night on the town, maybe went down to Pattaya Land 1, Pattaya Land 2. I can't remember the details of the story, but they had a great time and they all managed to find some little friends to spend the evening with. Don't forget, they all said the next morning, tomorrow we must get up really early and put our plan into action. So that night they went off. Some of them went to the beach with their friends. Some of them went to a soapy and had a great time here in Pattaya. They went out in the evening, but they all made sure that they were back a little bit earlier than the night before, because the next day they had to put their plan into action. That morning, the guys got up really early and went down and met in the hotel lobby. But some of them had little sort of backpacks and rucksacks with them. Why was that? Well, it will all become clear. And they came down, let's just assume that they came down here to Ballyhoy. It could have been the fish market over in Jomtien, or it also could have been, of course, Naglua, which is over to, well, it's up to the north of Pattaya, between here and Bangkok. And they went there and they went with their cameras and they started taking a few photos of them with various fish. They made sure that the fish that they were being pictured with were big, but they didn't want to have any fish that were maybe a little bit exotic or something like that. They just wanted the regular kind of white fish or whatever. And then, after they gave the fish salesman a tip, they would go somewhere quiet, change their clothing, and sometimes even change it into like wearing a sweater or a cagoule or something. And it was like today, like 80 degrees. Take some more photos with various fish, and then they would again give the fisherman a tip, and so on and so forth. And so it went on and on for about 10 or 15 minutes. I think you've twigged what happened. They had a fantastic time here in Pattaya, but when they went home, they made sure that they developed the photos pretty quickly, and they took out a few of the more saucier photos. Some of them with the girls, some of them in the bars, celebrating on the beach, but just kept the photos of them with the fish, because then, of course, they told their wives that they'd been on a fishing holiday in Cornwall. Yes, they'd all got in a big taxi, gone down to Cornwall, which is, by the way, right at the southern tip of England if you're not from the UK, but very famous for its fishing. Had a great time fishing, and then they'd gone back to their loved ones a week later. This is a great example of people making up a pretty complicated story as an excuse for them to come on holiday to Pattaya. And it's not the only one I've heard. I've heard of another two as well. Cameraman just told me stand by the bow. That means the front, I think. There you go. I know I'm from Britain when we rule the waves, but I'm not sure of the nautical terms. And I think I might actually be sinking very, very soon. Second story. Now, just imagine now that we're not actually at Ballyhoy, but we're at a golf course. We were going to a golf course, but unfortunately it is so hot. We've cancelled those plans. My friend had a bar, and it was very much revolving around golf. He used to do golf presentations. He used to organise golf tournaments. He even used to store people's golf equipment at his bar. He had some special sort of lockers made where people could store the equipment. Great idea, actually, because then you always know that when the guy comes over next, he's going to go to your bar. Great idea. But he had a problem. A friend of his, let's just call him Roger. Roger was leading a bit of a double life. Roger had a wife and a very normal job in the UK, But he also had a girlfriend, and his girlfriend was in Thailand, and he used to want to come and see her every now and then. And you know, he got kind of, sometimes used to say he was on a business trip to Singapore or whatever, and he used to pop into Thailand. But this time he couldn't think of what to do, and so he messaged his mate who owned the bar, my friend by the way, and he says, what can I do? I'm really missing my girl. You know, she says she misses me. We want to see each other. We want to come over for a week. What can we do? And he says, well, would your wife believe you if you said that there was a golf tournament that you had to enter, and then it was, you know, important for your handicap and all that? And he says, well, yeah, I mean, my wife is kind of into golf, but I think probably that would be okay. And she goes, right. And he completely made up a fictitious golf tournament, which was sponsored by the bar. It even had a logo, because he went to his web designer and got them to make up a logo for this particular tournament. And I think it was called something a bit naughty as well. There was a few little clues in there. And of course, he was emailed a registration form for this golf tournament, and which he showed to his wife, and she believed him, and off he went. Interestingly, I have heard from somebody that works at Heathrow Airport that one of the main type of luggage that is left at Heathrow for people to return is golf equipment. Maybe there are a lot of people that are telling their wives or girlfriends that they're going on a golf tournament, but leave the golf clubs at the airport. This particular thing actually happened to me. It was a pretty bad excuse, really. It was my first trip to Thailand. It was back in '96, and I was working at the time at a strip club in Birmingham as a DJ. You'll be pleased to know I wasn't taking my clothes off. And I decided, and I think I've told the story in a previous video, about next door to the club there was a travel agent, and it used to be like I think we could call it then Oriental Travel, I think it was called, and it used to be to Hong Kong and to Singapore and Bangkok, and I ended up buying a ticket and come to Bangkok. But there's a bit of a stigma about going to Thailand. So even though I wasn't in a relationship at the time, I'd just split up with my girlfriend called Julie, and I decided that it was about time to have some fun. So I came over here, but I told everybody that I was going to Mount Rushmore in America. I'm not quite sure why I said that. It must have been at the time I've always wanted to see, by the way, Mount Rushmore in America, and I will get to see Mount Rushmore. So I came to Thailand, and if you want to know what happened on my first trip, I'll try and post a video up there. It was a great time, my virgin trip to Thailand / America. But I got caught out, and I don't know why. Somebody must have said something. Maybe one of the doormen at the bar who I'd confided in had told a few of the people that worked there, and it finally got back to my ex-girlfriend Julie. And Julie met me for the next time when I returned to the UK with a big smile. I think she was actually dating one of the doormen at that time. Yeah, she left me, the DJ, to date one of the doormen. Let's not go down that slippery slope. And she says, "Oh, hi Phil. Yeah, I was looking for Bangkok on the map of America and I couldn't find it." Yeah, thanks Julie, that was a good one. And actually, I've heard a story of one of my friends that did exactly the same thing. He said that he was going to Florida when, as a matter of fact, he was going here to Thailand. And he thought he got away with it, you know. He came here, had a great time, and he went back. But unbeknown to him, and this was in the early 90s, he'd booked his trip for a travel agent, and they had mailed him by snail mail a receipt for the money that he paid for the trip, for the airfare and the hotel. And whilst he was in Florida, his wife had opened the letter and found out that in fact he was in Pattaya all the time. And Pattaya, you know, there's a thing. Do we tell our nearest and dearest and our loved ones and our work colleagues that we're actually coming to Pattaya? I know people, and I've done this myself, that have said that actually, oh, I'm going to Chonburi. Yeah, I'm on a holiday in Chonburi, and of course that is the province where Pattaya is. So we're not lying. We are coming to Chonburi province, but we're actually coming to Pattaya. Have you made an excuse that has gone terribly wrong, or have you got away with it? I want to know. This is a two-way street on this channel. Please comment in the comments down below about your excuses for coming to Thailand. And please don't forget, if you want to see me, as long as I am not frazzled to a pulp in this hot weather that we're having here in Pattaya, I will be at my bar, Le Pub, on Soi Diamond, and I'm there most days from about 4 o'clock until quite late. So please come and see me. I would love to see you. We've got a great lineup of girls and a great fun, quiet little bar right there in the heart of Walking Street. Thanks for watching, folks. I hope you've been able to hear me okay above all these announcements going on here in quiet little Pattaya. But for me, Mr. Egg, see you soon, folks. Bye-bye.
My fault, my bad. The words out, but you weren't ready.